This story is titled "My Cheating Wife Shifted Our Apartment to Her Name Before Filing Divorce." She smirked in court, thought she won with her affair partner, but I was ready, and now she's begging. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, it's free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really does mean the world to us, so let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. I never thought I'd be the guy sharing something like this on Reddit, but after seeing another dude post about his cheating wife, I figured it was finally time to tell my own story. Fair warning, this underscore is long, but trust me, the payoff is worth it. I'm 32, male, and I've been working construction since I was fresh out of high school. I started as a basic laborer, busting my ass, carrying underscore around, learning everything the hard way. Now I'm a site supervisor, running crews of more than 20 guys and managing million-dollar projects. It's not exactly Silicon Valley money, but I make enough to live comfortably and still have plenty left over for my gym membership and my restored '69 Charger. Yeah, I know, typical muscle car guy. But hey, everyone needs a hobby, right? Let me paint you a picture of my ex, Sarah. Imagine that stereotypical hot blonde realtor you see smiling on those for sale signs, perfect makeup, tight pencil skirts, that million-dollar smile. That was Sarah. We met at this dive bar when I was 24. I was there with my crew after finishing a big project, still in my work boots, covered in construction dust. She was there with her fancy real estate friends, slumming it for fun. Somehow, and honestly, don't ask me how, we hit it off. Maybe it was because I didn't try to impress her like every other guy in that place. I just showed up as myself. A straightforward dude who could deadlift 500 pounds and knew how to frame a house. For whatever reason, she liked that. We dated for 2 years before getting married. Her dad, this big-shot real estate developer, insisted on a prenup. I didn't give underscore. I wasn't marrying her for money anyway, so I signed it without even really reading it carefully. Spoiler alert, that little decision comes back later in a way neither of us expected. About 3 years ago, we bought this sweet apartment in a nice part of town. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a corner unit with a full view of the city. Most of the down payment came from my grandpa's inheritance. The old man was smart, always telling me, "Michael, keep some money hidden away from the wife. You never know when you'll need it." I should have listened to more of his advice. But at least the inheritance part worked out. For a while, life was actually good. I was killing it at work, got promoted to supervisor, started making real money. Sarah's real estate business was booming too. She specialized in those fancy downtown condos, pulling in big commissions. We had our routines. I'd hit the gym at 5 a.m. before work, and she'd do her yoga or Pilates or whatever she was into that week. Sometimes we'd meet for lunch if I wasn't stuck at a job site. Felt like normal married life. Even our arguments felt normal. She'd underscore about my gym schedule. I'd get annoyed when she spent 3 hours getting ready just to go out. Sometimes she'd say I was too focused on work, or that I didn't understand her creative side, whatever the underscore that was supposed to mean. But nothing serious. Nothing that made me think she was quietly setting the stage for what came next. The first red flag showed up about 6 months ago. Out of nowhere, Sarah got really into these women's empowerment seminars. Every other weekend, she'd dress up in these sharp business outfits and head out to network with powerful women, or whatever. She started talking about finding herself and unlocking her potential. Looking back now, I'm pretty sure those seminars were where she met the people who helped her plan everything. Then she started getting weirdly interested in our apartment paperwork. And I mean really interested. She began asking about the deed, the mortgage, all that boring legal underscore I never paid attention to. At the time, I didn't think much of it. She was a realtor, after all. Property documents were her world. Plus, I was swamped with this massive commercial project we had just landed. 12-hour days, managing multiple crews, dealing with city inspectors. I didn't have the energy to sit there wondering why my wife suddenly cared so much about refinancing options. The really weird Underscore underscore. Started one night after I got back from the gym. I was still in my workout clothes, feeling good after hitting a new PR on the bench press. Sarah was sitting on the couch, laptop open, looking all polished and professional in her work clothes. Even though it was already around 8 p.m. Babe, she said in this soft, almost too sweet voice, I've been looking at our mortgage rates. I think we should refinance. And that right there, that was the moment something in me shifted. Because Sarah never called me babe unless she wanted something. Usually it meant expensive furniture or dragging me to one of her work events. But this felt different. My credit score is better than yours, she continued, turning the laptop toward me and pointing at the numbers like it was all simple math, like it all made perfect sense. If we put it under just my name, we could save like $200 a month. I remember just sitting there, still sweaty from my workout, heart still pumping from the gym, but something in my gut felt off. Really off. It wasn't loud. Not at first, just a quiet discomfort sitting in the back of my mind. When I asked about my name being on the deed, she brushed it away so easily, like it didn't matter at all. Oh, we can add you back later, she said casually, almost too casually. It's just a technical thing for the bank. You trust me, right? That last line. That underscore last line. That's what set off the alarm bells in my head. Sarah had always been direct, always a straight shooter. She didn't sugarcoat things, didn't play games. But this soft, sweet, almost manipulative tone, that wasn't her. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Still, I didn't let it show. 8 years of working construction teaches you how to keep a poker face, no matter what's going on. I just nodded, said we'd look into it, and went to take a shower. But inside, my mind was already racing, pieces starting to fall into place. The seminars, the late nights at open houses, the weird phone calls, yeah, real classy stuff. At that point, I still didn't know the full picture. I kept playing dumb, sticking to my routine like nothing was wrong. Wake up at 4:30 a.m., hit the gym, work my ass off all day at the construction site, then come home to a wife who felt more distant with every passing day. But Sarah, she was getting bolder. She started coming home later and later from her so-called open houses, always with an excuse ready. The clients wanted to see the house at sunset, she'd say. Or, the paperwork took longer than expected. Sometimes it was, I had to network with some new clients. Always something. Always just believable enough. Then one night, she came home smelling like expensive cologne. Not the kind I wear. I'm a basic Old Spice guy. This was something else. Something fancy, the kind of underscore that probably costs more than my entire weekly grocery budget. When I mentioned it, she got defensive immediately. It's probably from the house I was showing, she said quickly. The owners have one of those fancy automatic sprayer things. Sure, Sarah, and I'm secretly Batman. But the real kicker came about a week after that refinancing conversation. I was at a new job site downtown, overseeing foundation work on a luxury condo building, when Tommy, my concrete guy, walked up to me looking uncomfortable as hell. Hey, Mike, you might want to see this. He pulled out his phone and showed me a picture his girlfriend had taken at this upscale restaurant, LeBlanc, or some pretentious underscore like that. And there she was, Sarah, dressed up in this tight black dress I definitely didn't buy her, sitting way too close to some guy in a $1,000 suit. They weren't exactly going over property listings, if you know what I mean. Turns out Mr. Fancy Suit had a name, Brad Thompson. One of the top divorce lawyers in the city. Real piece of work. The kind of guy who puts his face on billboards with slogans like, make your ex pay. I found out he charges something like $500 an hour. Must be nice. I didn't confront Sarah right away. Remember, I was playing the long game. Instead, I started watching more closely, paying attention to everything. I noticed she'd changed all her phone passwords. She started doing her laundry separately, probably trying to hide that expensive cologne smell. She even started going to the gym herself, but not my gym. No, she joined some high-end fitness club downtown, right next to Brad's office. Real subtle, Sarah. And the apartment refinancing stuff? That was getting more intense too. She'd start leaving paperwork, accidentally, out on the kitchen counter. Mortgage rates, deed transfers, all that boring legal stuff. Like she wanted me to see it but not question it. Then one day everything got a lot more real. I came home early from work because of a rain delay and caught her on the phone. Yes, I understand. No, he doesn't suspect anything. The transfer should be clean. I have all his information. Yes, I can handle the signature. She hung up the second she saw me, tried to play it off like she was talking to a client, but I'd already heard enough. That was the moment I stopped guessing. Right after that, I called my buddy Jack, the lawyer you'll meet in the next part. The next few weeks felt like living inside some twisted reality show. Sarah acting sweet as hell to my face, while I knew exactly what she was planning behind my back. She started cooking my favorite meals again, asking about my day, even showing interest in my gym routine. Classic guilty behavior. And then came the day she dropped the refinancing bomb for real. I was sitting there watching the game, just trying to act normal, when she came bouncing in, all excited. Babe, great news. I handled all the refinancing stuff. You don't have to worry about anything. I looked up from the TV, keeping my face blank, playing dumb like none of this meant anything. Oh yeah? Did I need to sign something? I asked casually. She hesitated just for a second, but it was there. I would have missed it if I hadn't already been watching her like a hawk. Nope, she said quickly, a little too quickly. Did it all digital. Technology these days, right? Amazing. I just nodded like it made perfect sense, like I believed every word. But inside, I was already connecting dots she didn't even know existed. And then, just like that, the next week she started talking about selling the apartment. The market's really hot right now, she said, all excited. Like this was some great opportunity. We could make a killing. Funny how it went from refinancing to selling real quick. Almost like she had a plan all along. I kept playing along, though, smiling, nodding, acting like the same clueless guy she thought I was. But in reality, I was already 10 steps ahead. I had Jack looking into everything, the forged signatures, the financing documents, the prenup violations. Hell, I even hired a private investigator to follow her and Brad around. Worth every single penny, let me tell you. And the whole time, Sarah? She was getting cockier by the day. She started staying out later, barely even bothering with excuses anymore. Sometimes she wouldn't even try. She also got sloppy, real sloppy. Started leaving some of Brad's fancy law firm documents accidentally mixed in with her real estate paperwork. And that same paperwork? It showed she was already looking at luxury condos. Single occupancy ones. That told me everything I needed to know. But here's the thing about being a construction supervisor. You learn how to spot a weak foundation from a mile away. And Sarah? She had built her entire little plan on the shakiest foundation possible. She just didn't realize it yet. Now let me tell you about Jack. The guy who turned out to be my secret weapon. Jack isn't your typical lawyer. The dude looks more like a bouncer than an attorney, ex-military, built like a tank, and he's got this wild scar above his right eye from his amateur UFC days. I met him at my gym, actually. Saw him one day on the bench press, lifting like an absolute beast, and we got to talking. Turns out he specialized in divorce law, and get this, fraud cases too. Talk about perfect timing. When I first showed Jack everything I had, the refinancing papers, the sketchy phone calls, Tommy's photo of Sarah and Brad, he just sat there for a minute, cracking his knuckles, this strange smile slowly spreading across his face. Mike, he said finally, your wife isn't just planning to divorce you. She's trying to pull off a classic property fraud scheme. And her boyfriend? He's done this before. That's when things got even more interesting. Turns out Brad Thompson had a bit of a reputation. Jack somehow pulled up sealed records, don't ask me how, and showed me 3 other cases where wives had mysteriously gotten their houses transferred into their names right before filing for divorce. Every single one of them was Brad's client. Every single one followed the same pattern. Forge signatures, rush the transfer, sell quick. But here's the kicker. None of those houses had prenups like ours did. Within a week, she had enough dirt to bury both of them. Photos of them meeting at Brad's private gym. Yeah, that's where Sarah was really working out. Audio recordings from their lunch meetings where they openly discussed the property transfer. Copies of emails they thought were deleted. Pro tip: nothing's ever really deleted. Security camera footage from Brad's office building showing Sarah coming and going at weird hours. Bank records proving Sarah had opened a secret account and was quietly moving money into it. But the real gold? Maria caught them on video at some fancy hotel, sitting together and planning the whole scheme. Full audio, HD video, everything. There was Sarah, dressed in her polished realtor outfit, sitting across from Brad, going over documents, talking about how they'd sell the apartment fast and split everything before I even realized what hit me. And the best part? They were so cocky about it. I'll never forget one thing Brad said. Maria caught it clear as day. Once it's in your name, he can't do. These construction guys never read the fine print. Joke's on you, Brad. I might work with my hands, but I'm not stupid. While all this was happening, I still had to play dumb at home. Act like everything was normal. Sarah, meanwhile, just kept getting bolder. She started working late 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. Coming home with shopping bags from stores I knew damn well we couldn't afford. She even bought herself a new Mercedes and told me it was a company car. Yeah, right. Then one morning, I was at the job site when I got a call from my bank. Some woman from the fraud department. She wanted to verify a transfer authorization. Turns out Sarah had tried to move our entire savings account into a new account under just her name. Thank God I'd already moved most of it into a separate account Jack had me set up. But here's where Sarah really _up. Remember that prenup her daddy insisted on? Yeah. Jack found this beautiful little clause buried inside it. It said that if either party attempts to transfer, hide, or otherwise deceive about marital assets, they automatically forfeit all claims to shared property and any potential alimony. In other words, by trying to steal the apartment, Sarah had just violated the very prenup her own father forced us to sign. The irony? Absolute chef's kiss. By this point, Jack had built a massive case file. We're talking a 3-inch thick binder packed with evidence. But we didn't act right away. We waited. Because Sarah and Brad? They were getting sloppy. The more confident they became, the more mistakes they made. They started meeting openly at this fancy wine bar downtown. One of my crew guys even spotted them making out in Brad's Porsche in the parking lot. Real classy. Maria didn't miss a thing. She got photos of everything. Sarah going into his house, the two of them out shopping for furniture for that condo they were planning to move into, even catching them one day looking at rings. Yeah, rings. Guess Brad was planning to upgrade wives. Then one day, I'm at the gym, right in the middle of deadlifts, sweat dripping, focused on my set, when my phone buzzes. It's a text from Maria. They're meeting with a document forger, getting it all on video. Sure enough, Sarah and Brad had hired some sketchy guy to forge my signature on the property transfer documents. 10 grand in cash. Maria got the entire thing on video, every second of it, including the part where Brad calmly explains exactly how they're going to file the paperwork. The next day, Sarah comes home like she just won the lottery, all smiles and excitement. Babe, remember that refinancing stuff? It's all done. The apartment's secure now. I just nodded, kept my face neutral. That's great, I said, and went right back to my protein shake. But inside, I was laughing my ass off. Because while she thought she'd just secured the apartment for herself, what she'd really done was hand me the perfect case against her. That same night, Jack called me. I could hear it in his voice before he even said it. Mike, we got everything we need. And brother, it's beautiful. And then came the day everything blew up. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember that clearly, because I was at the construction site early, dealing with the usual chaos. Some supply chain, __ had gone wrong. 3 trucks showed up with the wrong size lumber. Subcontractors were arguing about timeline changes. Just a typical messy Tuesday. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. We need to talk when you get home. It's important. I stared at the screen for a second. I already knew what was coming. Jack had warned me. His PI had spotted Sarah picking up paperwork from Brad's office the day before. Still, knowing it's coming and actually seeing it happen? 2 very different things. When I got home that evening, the whole scene was already set. Sarah was sitting at the kitchen table, wearing this tight black dress I'd never seen before. Probably bought it with Brad. Her hair was perfect, makeup flawless, that serious business expression on her face like she was about to deliver some life-changing announcement. There was a manila envelope sitting right in front of her. "Mike," she said quietly, almost too carefully, like she was rehearsing lines. "I think we need to make some changes." I didn't say anything, just stood there in my work boots, high-vis vest still on, covered in construction dust. Let her talk. Let her dig her own grave. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she went on, "and I just don't think this marriage is working anymore. We've grown apart. You're so focused on your construction work, and I'm really expanding in my career." The nerve of this woman. 8 years together, and now she's acting like my blue-collar job is beneath her? Meanwhile, she's out here planning to steal my apartment and run off with some scumbag lawyer who's already married. "I think we need to separate," she said, sliding the envelope across the table toward me. "I've already drawn up the paperwork. It's very fair. I get the apartment, since it's in my name now, and you can keep your truck and your gym equipment." How generous of her, right? She steals the apartment through fraud and thinks letting me keep my Ford F-150 and a set of dumbbells makes it fair. But here's where it actually gets good. She starts laying out her whole plan like she's already won, like I've got no way out. "I've already listed the apartment," she says confidently. "There's a lot of interest. We could close within a week. Once it sells, I'll give you 10% of the proceeds. That's more than fair, considering..." "Considering what?" I cut in. She flinched. First time I'd interrupted her little script. "Well, considering the apartment's in my name legally, I don't have to give you anything." I just looked at her for a second, then said calmly, "Okay, we'll meet in court." That was it. I didn't argue, didn't yell. I just walked out and went to stay at a friend's place. The court date got set for a Thursday morning. I showed up in my best suit. Yeah, I own exactly one suit, got it for my wedding, ironically. Fresh haircut, clean shave, even though I'd already been at the job site since 5 a.m. doing inspections. Jack was there early, already set up, 3 massive binders of evidence stacked neatly on our table. The guy looked like a kid on Christmas morning. Then Sarah walked in, and holy, she was wearing this all-white designer pantsuit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Hair perfect, makeup flawless, designer heels, the whole package. And on her face, that smug little smile, like she was about to walk out of there with everything. Brad was right beside her, dressed in one of those suits that just screams, "I bill $500 an hour," looking like a shark that already smelled blood in the water. The judge was this older woman, probably in her 60s, with reading glasses perched low on her nose, giving off serious, strict librarian energy. She started going through the preliminary stuff, calm and methodical. Then Brad stood up, all confidence and smooth delivery. "Your Honor," he began, "this is a simple case. The apartment in question is solely in my client's name. Mr., he said my last name, has no legal claim to the property. We're willing to be generous and allow him to keep his personal belongings and vehicle, but the apartment and its equity clearly belong to Mrs." I glanced over at Sarah, and there it was, that little smirk on her face like she'd already won, like she was already mentally spending the money from selling my apartment. That's when Jack stood up, calm as ever, and I swear, I saw him wink at me. "Your Honor," he said casually, like we were just having a beer at the gym. "Before we proceed, I have some evidence I'd like to present regarding the property transfer in question." Brad didn't even take it seriously at first. He just waved his hand dismissively. "The property transfer is complete and legal. All paperwork was properly filed." But Jack's smile only got bigger. "Oh, I'm very interested in that paperwork, particularly in how it was filed. Your Honor, may I approach?" The judge nodded, and Jack walked forward, laying out photos on her bench one by one. And with each photo, I watched Sarah's face slowly drain of color. "These photos, Your Honor," Jack said evenly, "show Mrs. last name and her associate, Mr. Thompson, meeting with a known document forger on March 15th. We have video evidence of the entire transaction, including the exchange of $10,000 in cash for forged signatures. Brad shot up immediately. Objection. These photos could be anything. The judge barely looked up, peering over her glasses. Mr. Thompson, sit down. I'd like to hear this. And Jack? He was just getting started. He pulled out a USB drive. Your Honor, we also have audio recordings of Mrs. Last Name and Mr. Thompson planning this entire scheme. Would you like to hear Mrs. Last Name explicitly discussing how to forge her husband's signature? Or perhaps Mr. Thompson advising her on how to hide assets before filing for divorce? I looked over at Sarah again. She was shaking now, actually shaking, her hands trembling in that expensive white suit. Brad, on the other hand, was tugging at his collar like it had suddenly gotten too tight. But it didn't stop there. Jack reached for another file. Additionally, Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Thompson has engaged in this exact scheme before. 3 previous cases, all following the same pattern. Wives mysteriously getting property transferred into their names through forged signatures right before filing for divorce. All with Mr. Thompson as their attorney. The judge slowly took off her glasses, and I swear, if looks could kill, Brad would have dropped dead right there. Mr. Thompson, she said, her voice turning cold as ice. Are you aware that facilitating fraud is grounds for disbarment? Brad started stammering, trying to recover. These are unfounded allegations. Enough. The judge cut him off sharply. Then her eyes shifted to Sarah. And Mrs. Last Name, are you aware that forging signatures on property documents is a federal offense? Sarah stood up, probably thinking she could charm her way out of this like she always had. Your Honor, there's been a misunderstanding. Oh, we're just getting to the good part. Jack cut in smoothly. God, I loved that guy in that moment. Your Honor, I'd like to direct your attention to Exhibit C, the prenuptial agreement. That's when Sarah froze completely. And Brad? He looked confused. Guess he never actually bothered reading that prenup. Section 7, Paragraph 3, Jack read clearly, states that any attempt to fraudulently transfer or hide marital assets results in immediate forfeiture of all claims to shared property and requires the offending party to pay all legal fees. The judge followed along, reading it herself, then gave a small nod. I see. And this prenup was properly executed. Yes, Your Honor, Jack replied. Ironically, it was Mrs. Last Name's father who insisted on it. And that's when Sarah lost it. Completely. No holding back, no composure left. She started screaming, actually screaming, about how I set her up, how this wasn't fair, how she deserved the apartment. Brad tried to quiet her down, but she was gone, completely unhinged. He tricked me, she shrieked, mascara already starting to run. He knew I was seeing Brad. He had us followed. The judge slammed her gavel. Mrs. Last Name, control yourself or you will be held in contempt. But Sarah wasn't done. She spun around, pointing straight at me. You bastard. You planned this. You and your meathead lawyer. Jack didn't even flinch. He just stood there, smiling. Your Honor, I'd like to note for the record that Mrs. Last Name has just admitted to the affair in open court, which, according to Section 4 of the prenup, is another violation. That was it. The judge had heard enough. Order, she snapped. Then she turned to Brad. Mr. Thompson, given the evidence presented and your apparent involvement in this fraud scheme, I am referring this matter to the Bar Association. Then her gaze moved back to Sarah. Mrs. Last Name, this court finds your actions not only reprehensible, but criminal. The property transfer is hereby nullified. Sarah collapsed back into her chair, crying now for real. No act, no control, just done. Brad was already packing up his briefcase, probably thinking about calling his own lawyer. But the judge wasn't finished. Not even close. Sarah had just had her meltdown in open court. Brad looked like he was about to throw up in his $1,000 loafers. And the judge? She was just getting started. This absolute smoke show of a woman in a red dress, looking like she's about to commit murder. It's Mrs. Thompson, Brad's wife. Turns out Jack made sure she knew exactly when our hearing was scheduled. Brad goes white as a sheet. I mean literally like he's just seen a ghost. Sarah's just sitting there, mascara running down her face, watching her perfect little plan completely fall apart. Mrs. Thompson, let's call her Rachel, walks straight up to Brad, drops a manila envelope on his table, and says, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You've been served, honey. I've got all the evidence." The judge, who honestly looks like she's enjoying the show as much as the rest of us, just leans back and watches. Brad opens the envelope with shaking hands, and I swear to God, he actually whimpers. But Rachel's not done. She turns to Sarah. "By the way, that Cartier bracelet he gave you? It was bought with our joint credit card. I want it back." Sarah immediately starts fumbling with the bracelet on her wrist, the one I'd noticed a few weeks ago but never said anything about, and yanks it off like it's burning her skin, tossing it at Rachel. That's when Brad finally finds his voice. "Rachel, baby, this isn't what it looks like. Save it for your disciplinary hearing, Brad." She cuts him off cold. "The Bar Association is very interested in how many times you've pulled this property transfer scam." Turns out Rachel's lawyer, who, honestly, is way better than Brad, had found 7 other cases where Brad had helped wives fraudulently transfer property before divorce. 7. My boy Jack had found 3. The judge clears her throat, bringing things back to order. "Given these new developments, I'm adding a few items to my ruling." Sarah looks practically catatonic at this point, barely even reacting, while Brad looks like he's about to bolt for the door. "First, Mr. My Last Name is awarded full ownership of the apartment. Mrs. Last Name forfeits all claims to any marital property due to her multiple violations of the prenuptial agreement." Sarah starts sobbing again, but the judge keeps going. "Second, Mrs. Last Name will be responsible for all legal fees and court costs. Third, I am issuing an injunction preventing her from selling or transferring any assets until the criminal investigation is complete." Then she turns to Brad. "Mr. Thompson, I am reporting you to the Bar Association today. Given the pattern of behavior evidenced here, I expect your law license will be suspended pending investigation." Brad just slumps in his chair. You can practically see his whole life collapsing in real time. 8 years of running this scam, and it all comes crashing down because he picked the wrong guy's wife to mess with. Sarah makes one last desperate move. She turns to me, those same puppy dog eyes she used to use whenever she wanted something expensive. "Mike, please, we can work this out. I'll move back in. We can go to counseling." I just laughed. "Sorry, Sarah. I don't date criminals." And that was it. She completely lost it. Full meltdown. Screaming about how I ruined her life, how she gave me the best years of her life, how she could have married a doctor or a lawyer. Yeah, pretty sure she already tried that last one. The judge slammed her gavel. "Officers, please remove Mrs. Last Name from my courtroom." 2 court officers had to practically drag her out while she kept screaming, "You can't do this to me. I deserve that apartment." Brad didn't even look at her as they pulled her away. He was too busy watching his wife Rachel talking to the Bar Association representative who had just shown up. As Sarah was being dragged out, I heard one of the officers mutter under his breath, "These gold diggers are getting worse every year." Final update time. It's been 6 months since that honestly beautiful day in court. A lot of you have been messaging me, asking what happened after, so here's the full aftermath. First up, Brad Thompson, the so-called hotshot lawyer. Remember how the judge referred him to the Bar Association? Well, turns out this wasn't his first time dealing with them. 3 other complaints had already been filed before, but those cases were quietly settled. Not this time. The investigation uncovered 12 cases. 12. Where Brad had helped wives fraudulently transfer property before divorce. Jack found 3. Rachel's lawyer found 7. But this guy? He'd been running this scam for over a decade. Last month, they officially revoked his law license. Permanent disbarment. He can never practice law in this state again. But wait, it gets even better. Rachel, she didn't just divorce him. She destroyed him. Turns out Brad had been hiding money in offshore accounts for years. Rachel's lawyer, absolute savage, found everything. She got their suburban mansion, his BMW collection, all their joint accounts, even his precious golf club membership. And the real cherry on top. The DA's office is pressing criminal charges against him for his role in all those fraud cases, MY case was apparently the straw that broke the camel's back. Last I heard, he's looking at potential jail time. These days, he's living in a studio apartment and working as a paralegal at some tiny law firm. How the mighty have fallen. Now, for Sarah. Oh boy, where do I even start? Remember how she violated the prenup in 3 different ways? That meant she got nothing, zero, zip, nada. But that was just the beginning of her problems. The DA's office didn't take kindly to her little forgery scheme. They hit her with fraud, multiple counts of forgery, attempted theft, and filing false documents. She tried to play the victim in court, cried about how Brad manipulated her, how she was emotionally vulnerable, how she'd made a mistake. But the judge, a different one this time, wasn't buying any of it. She ended up with 18 months probation, $50,000 in fines, but the real win, that came about 2 months ago. I had to switch gyms. Too many dudes at the old one kept hitting me up, wanting to hear the whole story. So I joined this new place, and that's where I meet Jessica. She's a physical therapist, loves lifting, squats more than most guys, and get this, she actually thinks construction work is hot. We've been dating a few weeks now, and she's everything Sarah wasn't. Honest, straightforward, actually respects what I do for a living. And the best part? She reads the documents she signs. The other day, we drove past Sarah's mom's place. I saw Sarah outside, struggling with grocery bags, wearing sweats, looking rough. Jessica had no idea who she was, but I did. And yet, I won't lie, it felt good. Really good. Moral of the story? Don't try to screw over your spouse. Karma's a undercurrent, sir. Prenups matter. And always have a solid lawyer in your corner. Oh, and lift heavy. You never know when you'll need those gains. Quick edit for those asking about Jack. Yeah, he's still my lawyer, and yeah, we still train together. The man's a beast, both with legal documents and deadlifts. Another edit for everyone asking about gym tips. Consistency and proper form always beat ego lifting. Unless your wife's trying to steal your apartment, then go ahead and ego lift all you want. Final edit. Jessica says hi, and yes, she read this entire saga. Says I'm a better writer than I think I am. Keep her, right?